The ship. I'm playing a very standard cruiser build. You could be running a smoke mod in slot 3 here, but I prefer to have accuracy, and otherwise this is a standard build. I don't think you need range mode because your base range is more than plenty. 18.5 at tier 10 is more than enough, and generally your shells tend to be quite floaty towards the end of your range, and you will struggle with hit rate at those ranges. Um, I am otherwise, in terms of the captain build, just playing a standard farming build. You can always bring more ESW. However, I don't think it's actually necessary. So this is the build I'm currently running. If you feel like dropping, for example, top grade gunner and demo expert, you could get focus fire training as well as AA defense and ASW expert, which will make your anti-submarine capabilities much better. So without too much discussion, let's get into the game. Can I actually put a camo on this? I can. With a nice white camo. And also like this, just in case. As a sub player, this makes me sad. Well, subs are plenty strong as they are, and you should be more than capable of just dodging the submarine surveillance radar. And you know, the great part about submarine radar, anti-sub radar, is if you're on the surface, the radar doesn't hit you. If you're underwater. And so, if you can manage that, you'll be completely fine. So since this is a new install, I need to do all my map settings really quick. Cool. So let's look at the matchmaking very quickly. They have one sub. It's a U190. It's a tier 8. So I'm not actually too worried about it. I really do hope that he's on our flank, because if he is, we can actually showcase one of the ship's greatest strengths, as well as the line's greatest strengths. But overall, this is going to be a pretty straightforward game for us overall, as there is unlikely to be a radar, a minnow with radar, and my game crashed. Great. It's unlikely, and you know, it's probably not going to be radar minnow. Even if it is, we probably don't have much issues dealing against him. And all of the other ships on the enemy team are just standard ships. Smarland is not really a threat, even though he does have radar. We just manage our concealment and the smoke firing penalty, and we should be okay. Crash counter when? I mean, you guys can keep track, but I'm honestly unsure of why this is happening. I have been using this internet connection and this Ethernet cable for quite a few days at this point, and it's been flawless. So I'm very surprised that this is actually happening. But in general, right now, I'm just going to plan to play very aggressively. I'm gonna position pretty aggressively, and then as soon as I get something in range that I can farm, like this Bismarck, for example, I'm just gonna start doing that, and then we'll see what happens as we go along. Since it's a Bismarck, I'm not too worried about taking big damage hits since he does not overmatch the middle part of my hit. So I'm just happily farming him. Taking a little bit of damage here and there is not really that big of a deal. There is a Z46 charging my hoster. Unfortunately, I'm not in a good position to help him out. And I'm pretty sure my game is having a stroke. Okay, it's back. Excellent. So actually, since the Z is committing into the camp, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm gonna push him, counter push him even. Possibly be able to catch him out while doing this play. My thing is crashing again. It is, yes. Okay, I'm just going to get rid of the Ethernet connection and play on Wi-Fi because it seems like it's the wired connection that is having issues right now. And I'm hopefully still alive. This is not a good start to this age. Okay, I am in fact alive. The Z46 has died, but we traded our destroyer. No, our destroyer left. Amazing. So we can actually start doing something. So this Henry is now committed Bowen, and we are going to smoke up, let our ship spot for us, and I'm just gonna sit here in my smoke and farm this guy while the Bismarck starts pushing us in the front. I'm not actually too worried about the Bismarck. As we have a Ostergotland that's in our spawn, this guy, he will just cross-top him down while the Bismarck tries to push us. And because that's happening, it's very unlikely that the Bismarck ever reaches us. The Minnow gets spotted. I'm gonna shoot him with HE because I don't want to expert load, and maybe he goes stealth in that time. So I'm just gonna load AP for the next volley. I think he's gonna turn the other way and give me broadside again. So the Bismarck does go down to the Ostergotland stops, which is great for us. And we actually got to sit on the Minnow because he was turning still. Getting some nice damage on this Henry as well. And we're just happily farming out of this smoke right now. And once the smoke does fade, that would be my time and signal to start repositioning. And we actually see a sub. He's a bit far, so no ASW just yet. But if he does survive, disengagement, which it looks like he probably will because there is no other ships that are inside ASW range of him. We'll be able to potentially rotate and do something to him. And I think that is going to be now, because this Yamato is going to be probably just pushing straight in, so same with the Castilla. And once that happens, I'm probably able to farm them quite effectively. We also have 13.5 kilometer range torps. That is something to keep in mind and note. Especially against this type of pushing flank, we can be very effective with our torps. Potentially get some floods and then follow up with fires. I'm spotted by the minnow, but I should be going stealth soon. And I'm not too stressed up about taking this damage potentially from a minnow spot, since he doesn't really want to be spotted himself. I'm gonna damage her instantly just so I can try to maintain my stealth, but the Yorktown will spot me for a second. This is not the greatest time to be spotted since I'm kiting away from a Yamato, but he just shot, so I think I'm probably fine. So we'll have our smoke in about a minute or so. I do want to keep kiting away from this flank because it's like most of the enemy team, and as it stands, you don't have the most HP. You have about like a Des Moines worth of HP, but you have different tools for survivability, and you definitely want to make use of them to the max. And so I'm gonna try to kite around this side of the map. So I want to go around this island and go down. So I can catch the Yamato, Castilla, Minnow, maybe the Halford even pushing into me, and try to survive the strike. If I do survive the strike and whatever the shells that are following up due to the spotting, I should be okay, and I'll get a smoke off, and then I should be able to farm these guys quite effectively. We actually hit a torp with our close set, so this was probably the Castilla. Good to know. This means that as soon as he gets spotted, I will want to shoot HE at him to get permafire, secure the fire on him, and then potentially just have easier way of spotting him, because fires make your concealment worse by 2 kilometers compared to whatever you have. So if I got set on fire here, instead of having a 10-kilometer base concealment, it would go to 12, and that would be obviously very good for us. This flood is pretty inconsequential, and I will want to smoke up very soon, probably now. I should get some vision with the help of my Castilla, but this is quite a risky maneuver right now because we're still slowing down into my smoke, and I'm quite vulnerable while doing this. But once the smoke has bloomed and I am inside it, I should be able to farm these guys pretty effectively. I'm just a bit worried that the Castilla is going to push nonstop and will get into my smoke firing penalty, which is 7.3 kilometers. For comparison, Des Moines has a 8 point something kilometer, I think 8.2 or 8.4 kilometer smoke firing penalty. So this is significantly better than what Des Moines would have, while having much better firepower. So the Yamato is actually blind firing me, which is quite interesting. I understand that he, thinks that he can kill me since I'm quite low, which he probably can. However, him shooting here is probably a bad thing for him, as he is getting himself spotted. And we're just going to keep farming. I should have dropped my torps on him as well at this point, since he is coming towards us and we will have torp range on him all the time. But we set a fire on him immediately after. There's torps from the Castilla, or yeah, those are probably Castilla torps. But as you can see, the HE Alpha is quite nasty. We do get penalty spotted here, so 7.3 kilometer concealment. This is something in that line. I'm probably gonna sub radar, and I do find him. That's really good. So I'm gonna dump my ASW. I think he's gonna turn out, or attempt to turn out. And he is actually still playing near the surface, so we can hit him. And we hit him for 5k, and those ASW charges will most likely kill him, so I don't want to shoot anymore. I want to go stealth immediately after. And so he does go down. I will be getting shot at a little bit. Oh, that form of fire definitely kills me. Oh, oh well. Through all of those crashes, we still ended up with 140k. So not too bad. Unfortunately, this was definitely a lost game quite early on since we gave up the A flank almost completely. However, we can play another one and keep going because I think this was not the best game to demonstrate the ship's strengths and weaknesses. The weaknesses I think we saw quite obviously, which the ship has 32 mil sides, and Yamato is quite special in terms of it being able to overmatch 32 mil armor, and not many battleships can actually do this. Super ships like Hanover and the Shikishima Yamato, incomparable, um, are ships that come to mind that actually can overmatch 32 mil. In general, most battleships can only overmatch up to 32, and as long as you can manage your armor well enough, you should be good. So let's play one more game of Cerberus, and then we'll go to one of the lower tiers, maybe Encounter or Auckland, and after that we can go into the new mystery ship that's coming, and I'm looking forward to seeing you guys' reaction on it. In terms of matchmaking here, I think this is going to be a very similar game to the previous one. However, there are way more battleships, and there's actually a battleship division on the enemy team, which is going to be quite interesting. Hopefully, they are somewhere near us so we can start farming them. However, for the moment, I'm going to position around the BC camp, probably on the 6-7 line, and see what happens. I'm not very threatened again in this game because there are no 12-kilometer radars. That is something that is going to be the biggest threat to you as a service. 12-kilometer radars, when you're in that crawling smoke, the crawling smoke gives away your position for the whole duration of the smoke, basically. And if they have a radar, they will definitely be able to catch you out in it. And you don't necessarily want to be caught in it, as you have relatively poor turret angles, since you have two turrets in the front and two turrets in the back. However, um, if you don't have radars, or if you get to just use an island essentially to farm over, something that you would maybe do with the Hindenburg or Salem even, then you don't even need to use your smoke and you'll be quite effective. Um, they have a Tromp as their only destroyer, and I'm not honestly very worried about this. If I can maybe support my Shimakaze in the middle of the map, that would be interesting, but otherwise, nothing too spectacular. So the Schlieffen and the Bango get spotted towards the A cap, which definitely means that the Shikishima is most likely on our flank, since I just saw the Vermont in middle as well. The Vermont and Montana were spawned middle, and the two other battleships, probably so the Shikishima is definitely on our flank, as well as the Vermont Montana. There's a Yoshino coming towards us as well. So at this point, I should just turn out and start playing passively. The Tromp gets raided by Arnevsky. I don't think I can actually shoot at him because he's gone behind an island already, but we have range to start farming these battleships that are pushing in. So we're going to start doing that. I'm ready on my smoke, so as soon as I get spotted, which I do, I'm gonna pop my smoke so we can go stealth, and I want to try and play as close to the cap as possible just to maximize my hit rate. I'm gonna switch the Yoshino because securing these cruiser kills earlier on in the game is very important, and we do get a fire on the Montana with that salvo as well. So until the Montana actually damage cons, I'm not gonna shoot him. I'm gonna load AP for the Jinan because he's giving quite a lot of broadside, but it's likely that he's angled by the time um, my shells land, so I'm not expecting anything. Deep water torps coming from the Jinan, and there's a Shima smoke in front of us as well, which is interesting. This could be a good thing and a bad thing. This could be a bad thing because if the Trump realizes that I'm in a smoke and the Shima is behind his own smoke, then he can essentially start farming our team for free, and that would not be a very good situation for us. However, for now, it seems like he's not doing that, and we are relatively free. The enemy submarine is on the other flank, so right now we're not really gonna focus on any of the anti-submarine capabilities of the ship. So we are again getting blind fired in the smoke. This is something that you should definitely be careful of. You don't want to sit still as much as possible because ship is quite big, and moving around and dodging shells and being angled especially will help you mitigate some of the damage you take. I do get firing penalty spotted again, so I'm going to start going away, and this is definitely the Tromp being very close. I want to try and avoid as many of the Tromp shells as possible. Unfortunately, he overmatches our stern, so we need to make sure that we minimize our profile that we're showing towards him, but that's okay. The damage that we take right now is somewhat inconsequential because we are just going to kite away from this flank since the overwhelming majority of the enemy team is on this flank, and we can't really take them head on. So my torps actually look pretty decent the second set, because it's very likely that the Vermont actually turns in. Since his divmate is also pushing in, I'm going to start shooting him while kiting away. I need to be somewhat careful about potential crossfire from the bungo across the map, but otherwise, as long as it's only the people from the sea cap shooting at me, I'm not as worried about it. There's a ship capping the B cap. This is most likely the Tromp. I think he made a very aggressive push, like down this way, to go into the camp, which is why I was penalty spotted. My smoke should be up soon-ish, so I'm actually gonna wait and start reversing here. And yes, as I expected, the Tromp is the one capping the B cap, but that's honestly at this point not too relevant. We're just trying to defend the C cap, and if we can get these Vermont killed and the Montana Devmay that he has that's following him, then we'll be in a decent position to actually try and make a counter push towards the C cap. But I definitely do not want to die, so I'm going to try and keep track of this Vermont's turrets because he is by far the biggest threat to me at this stage in the game. If I get a fire here, he will definitely die. Okay, he goes down to the G9 top. That's excellent. And now my plan is definitely to start trying to play for the C cap instead of just running away from it. So I'm going to turn my turrets around, go stealth, and start pushing back into C. Now that the Tromp has completely left the C side, the only ship that is relatively close to us in terms of concealment is the Jinan, and he will be it's a very unlikely situation that Jinan actually pushes into us and hard spots us or even penalty spots us. So as long as our Shima lives, which he may not, given that he is currently spotted by their Hindenburg, um, I am going to try and defend him from that. The Montana took a massive salvo just now. I think this was from my Ohio or Bungo potentially. So I'm really hoping he dies. Considering he's shot, he should remain spotted for a while. I'm gonna start shooting at this Hindenburg since I think the Montana will die soon, and I should be going behind the island from the Hindenburg, so I'll know um, what is spotting me and from where exactly. So getting some nice salvos, 5-6k damage salvos are very common in the ship. My Shima does go down, and we are very close to being zeroed actually. So I'm going to try to make a play as aggressively as possible without suiciding, if possible. Again, this is a very difficult thing to do in this situation because the Shikishima is crossfiring me and he overmatches my ship. Even if I'm angled to him, he will be able to do quite a lot of damage to me. I'm gonna load AP in case the Hindenburg comes out broadside and hope for sits, but this is not something that you can realistically expect since the Hindenburg has a turtle back you may very often just get over pens or pens and not actual sits. The Jinan takes a beating from my spotting because he's shot from our Ohio. Potentially, the Schlieffen dies on the other flank and gives us more time. I'm gonna shoot at the Shikishima. I'm pretty sure I have the arcs to go over that island. I'm gonna press my Hydro because I should be spotting the Hindenburg. I do. Okay. Gonna load AP again. Actually, that's not worth it. I'm just gonna have HE, and he is looking for me. So I'm gonna shoot my volley and turn into him. And I'm actually going to turn the other way so that I can use my torps against him if he tries to push. But for now, this trade is not particularly great as long as he's bowing. But it seems like he wants to shoot AP at us, which is really good because he doesn't really do much damage to us with AP. And my Ohio helps me out here with the trade, and now I can continue pushing. My Hydro is on for the Jinan, so I will either Hydro him soon or penalty spot him soon. And I'm gonna load AP for this because we really, really are in desperate need of kills at this point. We actually trade with the Vincent and Schlieffen in the A cap, but we're down all caps. And once the Jinan dies, I'll be able to step on the C cap, but this is still looking like a very close game. So here the spotting on the Jinan. Since he's angled in or angled out completely, I'm not gonna be able to do anything to him. Luckily, my Ohio comes in clutch again. Amazing. So I'm gonna just start farming the Shikishima. We are actually just down one ship now we're down two ships. But we still have a chance, I think. Given Arnevsky's position and his HP, we have a chance if he can start going around the cap and potentially catch the Bala out or maybe get another kill there. We probably kill the Shikishima that's in the middle. However, this relies on my team getting some kills of their own here. Does not seem like that is going to be the case since Arnevsky dies. But the Ohio should be able to spot for me. So I'm going to smoke up and keep walking forward, but very slowly. And if we can kill the Shikishima, we'll stay in the game for a little bit longer. However, this is looking like quite a bleak game at this point. We get another fire on the Shikishima. If the Ohio plane goes around to the other side, it will spot him again. And so we can shoot him for free from our smoke. And just try to farm some damage. The Shikishima is actually blind firing me, which is very scary given our HP. But we're just getting some AR at this point. I accidentally pressed the submarine radar, which is not going to be very meaningful here. I'm going to take the blind shot at the Shiki, because if I hit and get fires, this time it will be Pormas and he will die from them. He gets spotted again, so I shoot him again, hoping that this salvo gets a fire, and Ohio dies beforehand, so we don't even have a chance to kill the Shikishima, unfortunately. When you need a fire, you never get it. Story of every time you try to make a clutch play happen. Okay, so we played two games of the tier 10. We lost both of them. Both of them, I mean, we kind of were in positions where you had to run away because they had the overwhelming majority of the enemy team. So, as you would do with most other cruisers, you can't really face tank a whole flank of battleships. However, with the smoke and with adequate spotting, you can definitely slow them down significantly. And especially if there is a submarine spotting for them, then you definitely have all the tools, and you're very capable of just killing a submarine in one sub radar usage. Captain skills. This is what you're running right now. So I'm running Grease the Gears, Expert Marksman, or Expert Marksman, known previously. Gunfeeder, also known as Expert Loader. I like having Expert Loader compared to Last Stand in this situation because you have pretty decent AP as well. But your main ammo type will definitely be HE for the ship. And then I'm running Demo Expert. Again, this is where you can use your personal preference. You can definitely take Priority Target. You can take Focus Fire Training because this makes your ASW stronger. You could technically take Consumables Enhancement because it makes your smoke screen longer. And you have quite a lot of choices. You could even take the Torpedo Reload if you really wanted to. But I personally took Demo Expert because I think the fire chance getting a small buff will definitely help out in the overall damage department of the ship. Otherwise, these three skills would be my go-to. Um, I would not really consider dropping any of these. If you did really want to go into a complete farming build, you would probably end up dropping Concealment Expert and taking heavy HE to make sure you have top grade gunner procced all the time. And since you're going to be in a smoke, technically you can do this, but I probably would not recommend it. So let's go to the Auckland. I think that is probably the better ship to talk about instead of going to the encounter, since this is going to be something that probably is way more accessible in the early access to begin with. I'm going to build it in a very similar way as we did for the Cerberus, and we go standard slot one. Something to note actually for the Cerberus is that the armor that you have on its turrets is very thin. It's the turrets are incredibly fragile, right? So this is 25 millimeter armor everywhere on the turret. So you really, 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 like, I can't emphasize this enough. You really need main armaments mode 1 because if you don't, you are very likely to lose those turrets permanently, and you actually can get your turrets knocked out through destroyer HE. This is not as likely for the tier 8 because it actually has armor on the turrets, but these are also different turrets and guns compared to the things that you will find on Encounter and Cerberus. So same thing, same modules basically. I'm gonna bring engine room protection, sorry, and accuracy because having accurate guns on a cruiser is definitely nice. Propulsion because you're going to be accelerating in and out of smoke potentially from 0 to quarter or negative to quarter, and so you want to make sure your acceleration or deceleration is the best you can have. Um, this is again going to be a 17-point build because it's likely that you don't have a 21-point captain at tier 8, and so I'm going to be building around that. So I am actually going to take Grease the Gears is my first skill. I'm going to take Demo Expert again. This is where your choice between Superintendent and Survivability Expert comes in. I would say Survivability Expert forced makes more sense than Superintendent, just so you have that little bit more base HP, and then Concealment as you would for basically every ship. I'm going to take AR and Superintendent next, and I'm actually gonna give up top grade for the tier 8 if you don't have 21 point captain, which is very likely because currently there is not that many Commonwealth ships in the game, so you may not have a captain already trained up, and so your last point in this situation, I'm probably gonna take Gunfeeder again, but Last Stand is not a bad choice. Incoming Fire Alert even is not a bad choice. This will also alert you if someone shoots at you while you're in a smoke and undetected. So if you're worried that you're gonna get blind fired from across the map and you're not able to, keep track of shells that are in the air, then Incoming Fire Alert may help you with that. Personally, I don't think I need it, so I'm gonna take a Gunfeeder to improve my ship's performance. And I'm going to take Hydro as well instead of defensive because I think I can dodge the CVs and the damage and spotting that comes from CVs by using my Crawling Smoke. Does Incoming Fire Alert work if you're not locked on by an enemy? I believe so.
So let's just put a nice camo on this ship as well, since using a blank ship. Actually, the blank ship looks quite nice as well. So I'm gonna maybe just play with the blank camo. And let's get it going. So this is a ship that has a different armor layout compared to the ones that you will find in the higher tiers. You still have pretty decent armor for the tier. You have 27 mil sides, so you can bounce 380 millimeter shells. You have 25 mil bow, so you get overmatched by 380s, but anything smaller than 380s will auto bounce. And you have a decently thick armor on the Citadel, so destroyers and stuff will still struggle to Citadel you. However, if you give broadside to cruisers and battleships especially, you will definitely take a lot of damage. So I think we are actually in a mid-tier game. That's quite interesting, I would say. There is no divisions on the enemy team. The ships that we should definitely be keeping track of are all of the ships that have 406s or higher. We can probably avoid most of the damage that's coming out of the 380 millimeter battleships, other than the Venator, since he has SAP. However, um, NC and Nagato, even though Nagato is a tier 7, is a big threat to us since he has 406s. He will be overmatching our entire side of the ship. Otherwise, no submarine, unfortunately, and nothing super threatening in terms of the cruisers. However, the Kitakaze can be a threat since he has quite a lot of gunpowder. I'm gonna start playing very aggressively as I always do towards the middle of the map and see if I can find a position where I can effectively smoke up at 11 to 12-ish km from the closest ship and then start dealing some damage. However, this is going to be very, very heavily reliant on my team actually spotting for me. Um, when you're in a smoke, you don't spot anything unless they are basically spotted through firing penalty, since you don't directly see them. The smoke will be blocking your line of sight. So that is something to keep in mind. So say for example, a battleship is shooting around you, near you, and you'll be able to spot him through firing penalty. However, if he is not shooting, you definitely can't see him because the smoke is blocking your vision. I'm guessing in this situation that the destroyer spawns are mirrored, and the Kitakaze and Skana that are on the enemy team are both spawned towards the flanks. So I'm playing very aggressively. If I knew there was going to be a DD spawned in middle, or had a assumption that was going to happen, then I probably wouldn't push down this aggressively and would have played a bit more passive without having my own destroyer to spot for me. This would be a very risky play that would probably lead to me dying very early on. In general, the best sort of play is being aggressively positioned, but not going full commit towards a objective or a cap. So in this situation, going for that heal buff would most likely end up with me dying. So we see the Wujing is actually pushing in very aggressively. This is a ship that is completely coated in 32 millimeters of armor. So we can actually penetrate his entire ship with our HE. And I intend to essentially farm him and do enough damage that he feels like he can't push and wants to turn away and kite. Because the tier 9 in this game will definitely have the most potential influence, and you want to try and essentially pressure them away. And we get a fire on him, that's quite nice. If he damage cons, then I will try to follow up with another fire. However, the Wukong is giving quite a lot of broadside, so I'm going to load AP. Something to keep in mind, I actually was fast enough to um, reverse out of my own smoke. And so if you're reversing at full speed, you can leave your own smoke and get spotted. So in that case, you should, feather that throttle a little bit. The Wukong has spaced armor. It's a French hull, so it's difficult to actually get sits on him. However, we will maybe get some pens, and that's always worth it. So the Wujing is actually coming into our range and our line of fire here. So I'm gonna try to start doing some damage to him. I'm just gonna drop some random tops in this direction. Maybe the Kitakaze ends up coming towards us and eating them. However, for now, I'm happy to just do some damage to this Wujing and pressure him away as much as I can. So my smoke is going to start fading soon. I have about 15 seconds left in the smoke. So I'm gonna start kiting away because you don't necessarily want to be caught. In general, your smoke is a way to disengage from a fight as well. So if you do get caught in a weird position, you can always smoke and run away. However, if you don't have a smoke and you get caught, then you would most likely take damage that you can't use all of your heals for, and that would be quite bad. So the Kitakaze is actually pushing in very aggressively. I want to try and help out by doing some damage to him. And if we can kill him here, then we basically win the 8, 9, 10 line for free, since the enemy team will no longer have vision on that flank. And we get 4 shell hits, and we got 3k damage on the Kitakaze. Helping out with some damage on the Destroyer is always good. And he will most likely die. He does go down, and that's good. Amazing for a team even. And now that that's happened, I'm very comfortable in essentially just turning around and pushing middle, because I know for a fact that my team is now able to push through the 9-10 lines and then basically enter the enemy team spawn, and then we can make a crossfire from the middle of the map. So maybe I will go towards either this island or just down here somewhere, and by that time when I reach there, I should have my smoke ready, and then we can have another farming session where we smoke up and have some vision from our teammates that are actually pushing in, and then get some free damage on them basically. So since everything is very far away at this point, I'm not too worried about open watering on this York. And if someone does shoot me, I'm basically angled perfectly to everyone. I'm bow in to all of the big threats, all of the battleships that are towards the 1, 2, 3, 4 lines, basically. And if we do take some damage, it's going to just add to our AR. The York does shoot us, but this is HE and probably not very meaningful damage. And I don't think I particularly care about taking damage at the moment. Once the battleship starts shooting at me, I may reconsider this, but for now, I'm okay with this. So the Wujing is actually close enough that I would want to switch to him. Since it's a double fire, I'm gonna damage con this and smoke up. I expect the Wujing to actually shoot me soon, so potentially we should have some firing penalty spotting on him. If not, then I'm gonna start turning out. But I want to stay quarter speed, because if I go faster than quarter speed, then I will outrun my own smoke. I'm gonna drop my tops down this line because I think the Wujing will do a turn down this way. And if that happens, then these stops may catch him, and that would be really nice for us because it will press his damage con, and then I'm able to essentially get a free permafire without having to shoot myself. I'm going to leave my smoke for a second, but that should be okay. Just have my guns turned towards the flank. The Nagato is spotted. The NC is actually turned in completely and is most likely going to push straight into us. So we can start farming him now. Let's take a quick look at my firing penalty. My smoke firing penalty is 8. So until the NC is 8 kilometers from my ship in the smoke, he won't be spotting me. And we did just see him damage con that fire. So any fires we get now will be permas, and they will definitely help out quite significantly in killing the guy. So we should have our torps up soon as well. The Wujing shoots, and as a result, we are firing penalty spotting him. However, we do get spotted in this situation, which tells me that the scanner has actually ended up here somewhere and is spotting us. So I'm going to start accelerating just so I get out of the line of fire of these guys. We don't really want to tank them at this type of range. And I hard spot the scanner with my ship. He does not seem to have full concealment. And these are the torps from his. I think these are all of his torps since they are. He's actually missing some, I think. I'm. Let me see. He has 6.2 concealment at best. So yeah, he is missing some concealment skill. However, spotting him there definitely is a good thing for us because now we know exactly where most of the enemy team is positioned and how they are likely to move according to that. So I'm just dropping torps into this channel because it's very likely that these BBs are going to make a push down this way, and I want to stop them from doing that. So I'm just dumping my torps into the choke point, basically hoping for hits. But in general, it's very unlikely that this will happen. My torps are quite fast, so it would need basically the Pomon to be full sending it down that line. And we take the overmatch from the Nagato. We might also just be giving a bit too much broadside. I think this shell was over, like Citadel hits, and this one may have been overmatch. So we are still hard spotted by the Skarner. So we probably will go down unless I can dodge maybe one or two more salvos from the Nagato, in which case I may survive into getting my smoke up. And this is essentially the main thing that you need to be aware of is if you do get caught with your smoke on cooldown, then it's very likely that you do die. So one more salvo is likely to come from this Nagato and potentially the NC as well since he was shooting at me. I'm going to slow down almost to a full stop, but I'm going to keep shooting. And as soon as I see the Nagato shoot, I'm going to either reverse or go forward. So the Nagato is actually overshooting, so I'm just going to stop and start reversing here. And I get my heal up as well, so I'm going to pop that. I'm somewhat worried about the NC still, but does not seem like he's shooting at me. Pop my smoke, and let's see if we remain spotted. So we do, which means that the Skana is actually still penalty spotting me. He's 8 kilometers from me, somewhere on this side of my ship. But since we get our heal off, I'm actually not too worried about dying just yet. And once my firing bloom goes down, I will go stealth. And I'm gonna just chill for a second and wait because I think this Nagato will probably damage con or do something interesting that will help us out. The Venator shoots out of his own smoke and gets himself spotted, um, which means that I'm going to drop torps into the middle and just hope for something to happen. I'm basically hoping that the team that I have on the 910 line is going to start mobilizing and help me out. But till that happens, I'm basically at the mercy of the enemy team.
Torpedoes astern. Torpedoes astern.
I'm going to try to hit for this gap,
Capture that area.
but I may have just overturned into one of the torps.
Hull breach. We're taking on
I
water
did.
quickly.
However, the Skana has now gone behind the island, which means that I can shoot out of my smoke from stealth. And the Skana actually goes down, which is fantastic for us. I'm gonna slow down into my smoke again. I don't think the BBs are loaded to actually shoot me. Pop my heal as soon as I get it again. And we're just playing to live at this point. We may be able to actually kill this NC for our team. Okay, he dies. And the Nagato is still chasing us, but we have a couple of seconds of smoke left. So we should get another puff of smoke here. And I'm gonna shoot until I have about 2 seconds left on the smoke. And at that point, I need to start running full speed again because we're eventually going to get run down by this Nagato, who's relatively close to our ship spotting at this point. Our concealment is 10.8, he's at 11.5. So about a 700-ish meter buffer at this point. But he probably will want to turn in. I'm going to top so he makes this type of a turn down to the cap. I don't know if he will. If he does shoot here, and his turrets are actually turned away from us, so we're going to open up on him. I am at this point healthy enough, in my opinion, to take this fight. And I actually want to maybe start thinking about turning back as well. I think the Wujing may have damage on my fires. And so I'm going to turn back into him as well. We are like up by quite a lot of ships at this point, so I'm pretty happy to go back. What is the U ability? So this is submarine surveillance. So this is like radar, but it only works against subs specifically. And sub radar is basically only spotting ships, only spotting submarines in particular if they are at periscope depth or lower. So if a submarine is on the surface, you won't be able to sub radar him, but you will be able to normal radar him. That is something to keep in mind. And um, as a submarine player, if you think you're going to get radared and there is no other ship that is going to surface spot you, you can always just stay on the surface. This is something that a lot of sub players may overlook, which you can always just stay on the surface. You won't get sub radared, and as long as there's nothing that's going to hard spot you, you're pretty safe. So this Nagato is going to come around the corner soon. I'm going to just drop my torps preemptively on this side and turn back in. And we're going to gamble for this damage at this point because even if we die, we should be winning this game. And I don't think he kills me with this salvo. He almost does. That was an amazing salvo from the Nagato, actually. But with one more salvo from me or the fire sticking, he should go down before he gets another reload. So I'm aiming for the stern here because it looked completely unsaturated, so I knew I was gonna kill him. And a tier 8 ship in a mid-tier game getting 112k damage, pretty decent. We may also be able to do some more damage to the Wujing. If he keeps reversing, we are able to actually shoot over this island, I believe. If not, we'll catch him on the other side if the game lasts for long enough.
Battle ends in 5 minutes.
So the Wujing is actually going forward, so we probably are unable to shoot at him. However, the game is very much won at this point, so I'm just going to try to maximize my damage output in this game by pushing very aggressively, potentially to my death, but that's okay. So I'm using the torp indicator as a way of understanding what type of speed the guy is moving at. And if for some reason I thought that the Wujing was going to reverse, then the torp indicator would have been behind the ship. And that is a good way to know what the ship is doing without seeing him directly. And it's also a good way to gauge someone's speed. So if you think someone's going full speed, you can look at your torp indicator and see what they're doing. If someone's accelerating or decelerating, the torp indicator will also show that. And it does not need to be a ship that's inside your torp range. You can use this at any range as long as you can lock onto them, basically. Okay, so we are about an hour-ish into the stream. So I think it's time to reveal the ship that's coming out next patch. The mystery boat, indeed. Any guesses to what this mystery boat may be? I'm very curious to see what you guys think. Drum roll, please, indeed. It probably isn't, but I'd love a premium sub or CV. No, this is not a premium sub or CV because neither of those two ships or those two ship classes are in testing or were in testing recently. So it's not either of those. You could take a guess out of one of the ships that is being or was being tested recently or in like the last couple of months. Victoria? No, it's not the Victoria. This is a high tier ship in terms of it being either a tier 10 or a super ship. Red Fort, DD Heavy CR? No, this is, Red Fort is a testing version of Delhi. Yes, it is in fact the main. So the main will be coming next patch, and it is a American Super Montana, and it has 16 406 millimeter guns, and is quite nice. So we'll be showcasing this and playing through it a little bit. This is the build that I'm currently running, and I think I probably would not change this. This is a very standard build for most battleships. And something to note, as it's a USN battleship, slot 3, you don't actually get to have the accuracy module, but in slot 6, you get to have the accuracy module, but without having the downside of having poor turret traverse. So usually in this slot, you would put reload mod for most battleships. However, you don't for the main or any other USN battleship for that matter. And as a result, you do not have that negative debuff essentially of having poorer turret traverse. And you can even buff it with main battery mode too. Since you don't necessarily want any of the other things, you could get range mode in slot 3 instead, which will make your accuracy very slightly better. However, it doesn't matter very much. So I will just put a random camo on it again. I think the black camo looks kind of cool. And I'm using Halsey. However, this is a ship that is still in flagged as a test ship. So I will not be able to activate any of my perks and talents. However, the buffed skills will definitely work on this ship. Um, Otherwise, this is a pretty standard American tank build. So I'm running all of the normal skills. I'm running brisk. I'm a brisk enjoyer. If you're stealth, you go faster. The ship is already relatively fast. However, getting brisk definitely helps. Where is this super tromp? Uh, I don't know. Maybe it's coming in the future. Maybe it's not. Nothing to say about that anyway. But so otherwise, this is a pretty standard super ship. With the F key, you have basically the best way of describing it is it makes your ship incredibly resistant to fire and flood damage. And this will make you basically invulnerable to fires, which is why I was considering dropping fire prevention and getting furious as well as super heavy AP. And that is something that we will actually experiment live because I think that is something that we should, you know, definitely try out. So this build essentially makes you want to take and tank fires because Furious gives you 10% base uh, reload reduction, and every following instance of fire or flooding gives you another 5%. So if you have two fires on you, for example, it will give you a 15% reload bonus. On top of this, you have super heavy AP, which increases the duration of fires that are on your ship. And as a result, these two skills actually synergize quite well together because if you're on a single fire, you'll get that 10% reload buff, but it will also last for longer because you have that extra 25% duration of the fire. This is something to, consider on ships like the Conqueror line, which has a super heal, and potentially the Vermont, things that have a faster heal cooldown. And I'm considering running it on a main, and so we'll experiment with it live in a game. So in terms of matchmaking, this is actually a pretty decent game for us. Um, the Hanover is the enemy super battleship. He does overmatch a part of our ship, the bow and the stern. However, overall, this may be an interesting matchup for us because Hanover secondaries are excellent at setting fires, and this may actually end up buffing our ship against him. Otherwise, um, not having CV spotting may actually end up being really interesting in this game. And a lot of ships that are on the enemy team are really excellent at setting fires. So I will try to basically farm up my F key and play around being on fire, but also having my F key available to basically tank these fires and deal even more damage. So my deployment is going to look very similar to what I usually do, and I want to play very aggressively towards the start of the game and play maybe in between the B and the C gap and see what happens and see how the enemy team deploys. And as a reactionary play, I will reposition to catch their push or make a push myself with my team. What's the F key on main giving? So it makes you way more resilient against fires and floodings in particular. It lasts for 45 seconds. It also gives you, as a bonus, in my opinion, continuous AA damage. Unfortunately, no CV in the game to demonstrate this, but with the F key, you actually do quite a lot of AA damage, and you end up being quite a threat to CV planes. It works very similarly to what you would expect um, for maybe like a Hanover or San Martin, even, where shell hits give you progress towards getting the F key. Same with the Satsuma, actually. And if you don't have it, continuously being built up or full, then you will start losing it slowly. But once you have completed the progress, once you are at 100% and you have it available, it will not go away until you activate it. So it does seem like the Petro is going to go straight into the C cap, and the Hanover is currently on the mega flank on the 910 line, but he looks like he is turning out. So I am now currently debating whether I want to go through the channel, like go through this cap and go around the Petro. And this is something that I'm very interested in doing potentially in this situation because you have relatively poor ballistics. Since you have American shells, they are very slow, but they're very accurate. And so at mid to close ranges, the accuracy and shell speed are definitely good for you. However, at longer ranges, you may struggle with getting hit rate. So since the Petro is actually potentially making a turn out there, I'm going to try and turn to catch him. But in general, I want to try and set myself up for a position where I can make a push play happen. The Hanover is actually turning into us, which is quite interesting. So I'm gonna open up on him as well. What's the reload? Didn't see it. So you have a base reload of 35. You can improve this with reload mode. However, I would recommend using accuracy in slot 6. In general, these shells are very accurate though. As you can see, there is very little vertical dispersion. It's a very flat shell grouping. And so hopefully it should do some good damage. Yeah, 5 penetrations. I think a bunch of those were actually on his turrets, so we didn't get full penetration damage. However, he is taking a significant amount of damage at this point. I'm hoping to catch the Petros broadside over here, and I do actually find him. And he's probably gonna try and turn in. So I'm gonna aim for this. See if I get any good damage. 25k. Not bad at all. And the Elbing may actually attempt to YOLO us here. So I will angle, and as long as it's only floods and not just the alpha killing us, we'll actually be able to tank it pretty well as well, since I'm most likely getting my F key active after this salvo on the Petro. But it does look like the Elbing is actually not going to push us, in which case I'm now tempted to turn my attention to the other side of the map, where the Zhao is in the middle, and the Montana may actually turn out towards this line and give us broadside.
Torpedoes to port.
But I want to actually make sure I get
On fire.
one shot on this Petro soon, so that my F key progress doesn't start depleting. And we leave ourselves with just like a pixel basically left before our F key was available. Quite unlucky, but I don't think it will end up mattering very much in this situation. There is a Z-52 in the cap as well. That is quite scary, considering there is now 3 destroyers around me. And, the torps can be very dangerous for any battleship. So the Petro is giving us broadside again. I'm going to hope to get some sits. We get 2. Amazing. So since this fire is almost burnt out, we are at 10 seconds left on the fire. I am not going to press my F key. Just gonna save it. Maybe the Worcester or the um, Zao start shooting at me and set me on more fires, in which case I will want to use it at that point. I think the Z52 may actually come out here, in which case we'll want to shoot him, but I want to, in general, try and make a turn out from behind this Jinan and maybe play towards the B cap since the C cap is definitely one at this point. We have a Worcester who's going to just push out and most likely kill the Z52 and Elbing by himself. I'm gonna hold my turrets on this side since if he comes out, you want to be ready to shoot him as soon as possible. I'm gonna ask for a radar from our Worcester potentially. Hopefully he does have it. I can't tell. Elbing gets spotted. This will kill the Elbing. This is good for us again. These guns are very consistently accurate, which is amazing. I really enjoy the consistency that this ship provides.
Torpedoes, direct front. Torpedoes to starboard.
So these look like shimmer torps, which means that the shimmer has already crossed towards this side of the cap,
Torpedoes to starboard.
and the Worcester is the only thing that's on the right side of the cap, since the Z52 is most likely still in C. The Wujing may give us broadside soon, since he's still coming out. So I'm gonna slow down a little bit to take a shot towards him. So yes, the Worcester is in fact still there, and I want to just go tank him.
Ship is on fire.
We do 15k to the Wujing. That's amazing. Good damage on an angled battleship. Again, you don't need overmatch. In this case, we would have needed 32 mil overmatch to actually deal damage to him. However, not too relevant since we just penetrated his superstructure for a bunch of pens and got some good damage. I'm gonna again not use my F key because I am somewhat worried the Shimakaze will be torping me since he's so close. And he should be torping me in this situation. We get 8.7k with just our front guns. And once I see the torps coming, and we're probably gonna eat some torps in this situation, given that we're in a torpedo crossfire, we should be okay. Considering that the Worcester is radar, this Shima is most likely gonna be spotted still. And does go down. That's pretty nice. We are hydroed. This is, I believe, because of the Zao. Or maybe the Z52. I think it's probably the Z52. The Z52 is most likely going to come out because he should see the Worcester coming out behind him. And he would rather go into me than sit and tank a Worcester from behind. So we load HE preemptively for him to come around this corner. And with our pretty decent firing angles, which is going to dump all of our shells into him.
Enemy severely damaged.
My dispersion lets me down slightly. However, in this situation, I'm not too worried. And the Z probably dropped his torps there when he made his like commit to the turn. So I'm gonna start going forward immediately. It does not seem like he actually dropped his torps because they would have been spotted by now already. So I'm just gonna shoot HE because I had it loaded for the destroyer, but I'm gonna load AP now and turn my guns to maybe catch the Baji broadside or maybe the Zao. So in this situation, a Baji broadside at 11 to 10 kilometers is very vulnerable to us. And we can definitely do quite a significant amount of damage. I'm gonna aim for Sits. Baji is a Izumo hull, so he does have a turtle back. But we do 38k, 39k almost with penetrations, which is amazing. You have the 16 guns, as I mentioned, which leads to really high alpha salvos quite often. So very unlikely, unfortunate even, that
Ship is on fire.
we see the Zao right as we shoot, and he's even very broadside to us. If I held my shot for just a bit longer, I would have probably devastated the Zao. But maybe we'll get another chance to demonstrate the capabilities of the ship on broadside cruisers when we go around this island. Maybe we'll find a Conde or a Worcester. I hope the Schlieffen stops pushing me. Okay, so we do see the Conde has gone behind. In which case, I actually want to stop and start reversing because I don't think I'm going to be able to catch the Zao. I believe this Conde is going to try and turn in towards the sea cap as soon as he goes up behind the island. We're just going to look for him and chill for a little bit in this situation. And he does, in fact, turn in as I expected when he went behind the island. And so now we're perfectly set up to catch him and catch his broadside. Gonna give a lot of lead because the Conde is a very fast ship. And unfortunately, French armor trolls me here, and we only get overpens. But we did a decent amount of damage. Worcester may actually come out on the other side broadside, so I'm gonna go forward to try and catch him instead in this case instead of just waiting for the Conde because he's probably gonna come out on this side, but our Novosibirsk will probably catch him and kill him himself. In general, a lot of the things I do are based on looking at the minimap and reading what is likely the situation that is about to unfold. And this is something that you can easily replicate in all of your games. 100 Orbs, not too unexpected in this situation. This smoke is from Changmu, which tells me that Changmu actually rotated all the way back. I'm gonna press my heal just in case we take a lot of damage from the Changmu Orbs, which I don't think are gonna come towards us, but worth popping regardless. Changmu actually it's a Kitakami Torp and goes down. So it's only the 3 cruisers left on the enemy team. And we are spotted by the Zhao, I believe, or maybe the Worcester, who's gone just straight away from us. And one of them will open up on us, maybe set us on a fire, and then we can start dealing some damage back to them. Okay, the Conde actually shoots us, but he should go down. He does go down to the Schlieffen almost immediately. It seems like neither of these cruisers are really interested in picking a fight with me, which is understandable. However, going to maybe lead to a bit of a boring ending to this game. So the Zao is actually just crossed straight in front of me, so I don't want to turn towards the Worcester because there's very likely to be torps coming down this way. So I'm actually going to turn towards him instead.
Torpedoes, dead ahead.
And there they are.
Hull breach. We're taking on water quickly.
This would have been a situation where actually not damage conning would have been an interesting play. However, with a flood, you are way slower, and so I don't want to lose that ability to keep going full speed, basically. I don't think I'm able to shoot this Worcester since my turrets were not turned.
Problem solved, sir.
So I'm just gonna keep my turrets for the Zhao because I think he may come out on this side or either make a turn back. If not, then I'm still somewhat looking towards the Worcester, and if he does turn in, then I will be able to shoot him. Zhao's Hydro is spotting me, which is potentially dangerous since we don't have a damage con and no more heals. And the Worcester will get permafires on us. So I'm hoping that one or two salvos on this Worcester's broadside are able to finish him off.
Our victory is in sight. Target penetrated.
So not a great salvo for me, but we still did like 15k damage, which is very good. I'm just gonna slow down here and wait for the Zhao to
Torpedoes
come
to
around
starboard.
because I don't wanna go forward and eat torps that he definitely would have dropped.
Torpedoes to starboard.
Am I still gonna take one?
Way
Yes.
below the waterline. We're flooding
Well,
quickly.
this gives us slightly better reload. Well, slightly 10% better reload, and maybe we can utilize it to kill this Worcester. However, he does seem like he is dodging us in particular in this situation, so difficult to hit him. We will get a damage con up soon, so we should be actually living. The Worcester has range mod since he's shooting at us from 17.8 kilometers at this point, and way outside his actual effective range. So I'm gonna open up again and hope to kill him. Very unlikely that this actually does any meaningful damage because he's so far away.
Problem solved, sir.
Flashes mostly around him. But we still had a pretty decent game, I would say. 182k is nothing to scoff at. And this will definitely just be a game over without us likely being able to spot the Worcesters, and he probably won't shoot at anyone. So this will probably be the last game that I play on the stage today, as we have a German stream going on currently, and I don't want to keep you guys here for too long. Um, this will also be the last stage that I run this month, and we will have some NA streams with this format. I believe there will be a stage either next week or this week for CVs. Yeah, so we'll have a stream for the US and CV line on Thursday, and then there will be another one for ranked battles actually towards the end of the month, and those ones will be run for mostly the NA time zone because currently we are running in a very EU centric time zone, and hopefully we'll see you there again. Um, Hopefully I also did something interesting and showed you guys some new ships and was potentially educational. If you guys have any feedback about this, feel free to leave it in the chat, and I will be reading this as I am already. And hope to see you guys later. It's late here in Australia. Good time to end. Bedtime for me. Yep, exactly. So, um, thank you for coming by, and I will see you guys on another such stream next month.